services in Europe. And this is a webinar organized in collaboration between the Swedish Society for IT and Law and the European Legal Tech Association. And my name is Helena Hallgren. I'm chairing the Swedish Society for IT and Law. I'm also ambassador for ELTA. And today we have the privilege of having 7 more ambassadors from ELTA participating as speakers at this seminar today. And we will give you, after this introduction, we will give you then a short summary of the situation in 8 different countries. And I want to point out we are recording this webinar too. So it will be published, I think, in some kind of YouTube series or something like that by ELTA, but it's recorded in a way. And if you have any questions, please write those in the chat and we'll try to take them at the end of the seminar. And we will not give a long introduction to each of these people speaking. Instead, they have their own bio, present themselves in the background. So, to start this, I would like to look back to 2008, because at this year, Richard Susskind published his book, The End of Lawyers, ? He then described how he looked at the market for legal services in the future. And I like this quote: traditional lawyers will in large be replaced by advanced systems or by less costly workers, supported by technology or standard processes, or by lay people armed with online self-help tools. That is how he looked at it. Now we have 12 years later. How does it look in reality then? How does it look in reality in 8 different countries out in Europe? That's what we will talk about today. But before we get started, I would just like my colleague here, Marcus, give a short introduction to ELTA. What is ELTA?
Okay, thank you, Helena. My name is Marcus. I'm the German ambassador of ELTA. ELTA is the European Legal Tech Association, and I happen to be one of the founders of ELTA. So ELTA was founded in August 2016. Now try to move yourself back to 2016. That was where the background where in Europe legal tech was not yet known, although Richard Susskind came to market in 2008. So in Germany until 2014-15, there was no legal tech at all. It started with a serious autumn conference, and the aim was to create and provide a platform for everybody with an interest in legal tech. So be it startups, investors, lawyers, academia, coders, everyone to have a platform. And today, I mean, it's only 4 years later, we are more than 500 paying members, as we say, representing 5,500 people in 39 countries. So it's far more than Europe. Today, ELTA is a sort of peer-to-peer network providing in-depth knowledge on the European market and in European countries. And ELTA claims to be the point to go if you want to know something about legal tech in one of the European countries. So if you want to know something about Sweden and come from Estonia, just pick up the phone and call Helena. If you want to know something about France, pick up the phone or go to ELTA and find Grégoire's email address and contact him. And you will get in-depth knowledge of what is happening. If you want to, you can turn to a traditional book that is Legal Tech, a practitioner's guide, and it has many, many country reports from Europe and other parts of the world, and many of the ambassadors have contributed to this book, so it really provides an in-depth overview. Again, and plus, we aim to shape the market, or at least act as an influencer. So what we did, we have published the Decalogue for Better Justice System with Legal Tech after the COVID-19 crisis, which was presented at a EU conference hosted by the German Ministry of Justice and Consumer Protection. And this decalogue made its way to Argentina, where it was recommended to be adopted as 10 points to be borne in mind if you talk about legal tech. Some important projects for now, we are working on the legal tech directory European-wide and the legal tech radar, which would help you to compare legal tech tools. This is in a nutshell what ELTA is all about.
Thank you, Marcus. Thanks. So we get started with the presentation from Sweden. After I studied SASK in 2008, I started the venture with my colleague, Virtual Intelligence VQ, to get with the aim to digitalize legal sector. So I've been working with these issues for a long time. And to give a background on the Swedish market, it's important to know that the regulatory framework, because in Sweden, there is no regulations of legal services. Anyone can practice law in Sweden. You don't even have to be a lawyer. But what is regulated in Sweden is the title advocat. You have to be a member of the Bar Association in Sweden to use the title advocat. And the traditional law firms named advocate firms, they have to follow the framework of regulation from the Swedish bar, and that makes it much more complicated for such firms to start delivering online legal services, etc., because there's much more strict regulation about ownership, ethics, how to check, do conflicts conflict control for clients, etc. So, but it's important to understand anyone can deliver legal services. So in that area, it's no regulation. So we're quite tech friendly in the Nordics. The Nordic Legal Tech Organization has published this overview of legal tech providers here in the Nordics. And you can see there's a bunch of document automation tools. You have artificial intelligence. You have compliance tools, and there's online dispute resolution solutions. So you have all these tools, and we have a reputation of being quite tech friendly, I guess, too, in the Nordics. So we are really into this, and there's a buzz on the market in Sweden amongst the practitioners about all these legal law firms and lawyers. Legal tech and innovation is really hot topics. But still, when we start looking at what has truly happened, what has really happened on the market, what are the true options then for buyers of legal services? If you look at the segment for individuals in family law, we have alternatives. And we have two big companies that are not members of the law of the bar, and they are providing online services, etc. So there you can find some alternative legal services. But on the big profitable market, the business law segment, we don't see that much alternatives so far. I mean, we have all the bigger law firms are members of the bar, and they are trying to innovate, and they're doing initiatives, but still they're just working to become more efficient, to make lawyers more efficient. We haven't really seen the different kinds of options for a buyer of legal services. We have a couple of small initiatives for small and medium-sized companies, but not for the big profitable market segment. And so far, there's more of discussions about it. So for a buyer of legal services, you mainly have two options. You either hire a lawyer to work internally, within the company as an in-house lawyer, or you turn to a law firm for buying legal services. You don't see the variety of alternatives that Saskin described. So in Sweden, you still have the great opportunities for those trying to build and deliver new legal services. And probably we get something from the big four soon, because they're initiating and their initiatives for delivering legal services. We haven't seen so far, but we probably receive it soon. Sorry. So far, we haven't come that far. We have the tech, we have the possibilities of the market, but we have not yet delivered the alternative legal services on the market. Sorry, getting catched. So the opportunities are still out there in Sweden. So instead, how then does it look like in Germany, please, Marcus?
Right. Thank you, Helena. In Germany, the situation is as follows. Firstly, you have to differentiate between B2C and B2B because the situation is quite different. On the B2C side, so service for private consumers or for customers, legal tech has provided a new access to justice away from the traditional way by visiting a lawyer, or if you can't afford it, just waive your rights. And what we see since years, and it's growing, platforms to provide information about your rights and entitlements, or platforms to provide information about providers who could help you, or platforms who directly help you, where you just have to enter some data and then the platform will pursue your rights. And in the end, if you are successful, you pay a certain fee to the platform. And if you are not successful, you don't have to pay anything. So there is a certain no risk, no cost approach, which is very popular. And in these areas where these service providers are active and have established themselves, traditional lawyers don't have a chance anymore, because they just can't compete with companies like Flightride, for example, helping you to get your flight, your compensation in case your flight is delayed, or in case your train is delayed. They help you to claim a certain compensation. In general, landlord and tenant law, and especially when it comes to the allowed amount of rent, is a very popular tool. Of course, there are lawyers who provide landlord and tenant law, but they are not as successful for consumers as these providers. For insurances, these platforms are very successful, and in the diesel scandal, you know, all the many people suing against Volkswagen, legal tech was the way to collect all the entitlements on claims and have a sort of virtual class action in Germany. So the number of services is growing, not rapidly, but slowly, because, you know, to establish yourself and have a high number of cases, that is only in cases where services can be standardized and then automatized. That is the precondition to offer legal tech services. So, but really it has opened up new ways for consumers, and it's making it for them a better world. In B2B, it's different. Legal tech is pretty popular amongst clients or in-house legal department because it helps them to receive better and more affordable services. The issues for clients or in-house legal services is they often don't have a budget for investments in technology. So they expect their legal advisors to provide legal tech-based services. These services are not just the sheer provision of legal advice. It's very often not the case. With the help of technology, you provide services for contract management, document review, automation of processes, generally the handling of the masses of documents and data. So providing legal advice is supported by databases, but that we would not call legal tech. But when it comes to handling data, finding patterns and all these things, this is done by technology, very often called AI technology. And this comes from providers. So who are the providers? Very often big four companies, so the big four accountancy firms, and alternative legal service providers like United Lex or Concilio, not law firms. But that's what they offer are non-legal services, very close to legal services, but not by definition. And they have enough money to invest, and they are fierce competitors for traditional law firms. So with regard to AI, artificial intelligence, and prediction, so the the way by taking historical data to predict the future or future outcomes, that is not popular in Germany just because you don't have enough data, and data protection as we treat or handle it in Germany is very strict. Other than in other European countries, we are very, very cautious with data, like it or not. So there is just not enough data to feed algorithms to give a sensible answer to what will happen next. What is still missing? A common legal platform where you could have all these many legal tech tools providing in niche services in one platform, so that an in-house lawyer you would have on your screen on one platform with one password and login for all these tools. This is missing. So there is something like that in the UK. It's called Rain and Court, but it has not yet established in other countries. Maria, I wouldn't be surprised if there is something in Spain, and you would, but in Germany it's missing. The trend, it will continue. Law firms without such legal tech offerings will have no chance. Other, they would offer premium services, but this is a very small amount of law firms. Many people think they would provide premium services. In reality, only a very small group of law firms really provide premium services. And in the long run, law firms will struggle with Big Four and with alternative legal service providers if they don't change their policy towards investment. So if law firms don't develop themselves into corporates, I don't think they will have a chance. So this is in brief, Helena. I hope I didn't exceed my allowed time. The remaining time I would give as a gift to Maria from Spain.
Thank you, Marcus. That's great. And next we have Maria from Spain, please.
Okay, I think that you can hear me now. Can you?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you, Helena, for the invitation. I'm very happy to be here, mainly amongst professionals from Sweden, and also with some of my colleagues from the network of Ambassadors of ELTA, organization which I encourage you to join, because the challenges that are coming for us legal professionals are so big that only together we can really face them with success. That's my point of view. Just a few words about me, but you can look in LinkedIn, which I think is the best way to know about people nowadays, and a recycled product. I used to be a lawyer. I've worked in law firms, in the big ones, but also as an in-house lawyer. And now, since the year 2003, more or less, I devote my practice, my day to the management of law firms and the advice. And since the year 2013, I realized that technology was not only websites, but much more, and the impact of that technology in the legal profession and in the legal system was going to be so big that I decided to devote my life to that, and that is what I do nowadays. I am very, very proud to be the Vice President of ELTA at the moment. And let me start with my presentation. I'm going to help myself with some slides. Okay, I hope you can see my screen. Can you?
Yes.
My screen?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, let me go to number 1 and let's start. So these are just some slides, but I share a lot the view of Marcus. So who are the buyers of legal services in Spain? And I think that they are not much different in the other countries, but I think this helps us to have a clear framework of what we are talking about. So individuals on one side, corporations on the other, public sector and NGOs. And all of them need services, legal services, and in all the different segments, things are changing. So in the private sector, let's say in the individual sector, what is happening in Spain, and I think that in many other countries, in our countries, we are lucky to have this free justice. This, if you don't have enough money, you are entitled to have free justice. So in the side of the free justice, I don't think that much is happening regarding better services. On the contrary, I think that there is a need to work in there, because we want these free services to be very cheap, So we should be investing money there, but there are some reasons because there are a lot of conflict of interest in the world of transformation of the legal sector. So not much is happening, but a lot is happening in the same field as in Germany. So the small claims against air companies, bank, insurance, etc. And there, here in Spain, a lot is happening. I give you an idea of the fields where I notice more changes here. So debt recovery, and that is going to be a field of huge growth in the coming months, because the crisis that we are expecting here is terrible. Legal services related to data protection. Here in Europe, as we all know, we have high standards, and people, individuals, are getting more and more aware of their rights. So there are some tools to, let's say, fight or get their rights, let's say, defended. Online divorce, post-divorce relationship management, these kind of tools are relevant because we divorce a lot. 50% of people divorce, so we need that. Digital reputation, similar to data protection. We understand that we have two personalities, one here and one virtual, and we want to have our personality being respected. Inheritance law, legal issues. Of course, we need information about taxes and all kind of procedures. So, and then finally, contract editing and signing. So these are the fields of more growth in the field of individuals, legal services for individuals. What do people want? Cheap, fast, and accessible. Everybody wants the same, and therefore legal techs are coming. And who is promoting these services? Well, different kind of actors. Some are completely new in the market, legal tech. They're not even lawyers. They are just people who suffer from some kind of, let's say, mistreatment by an insurance, and they decide to be entrepreneurs in our field, and they hire some lawyers, but they are the owners. So we have here in Spain Reclamador for claims, big claims. This is the most successful one. They have done already several rounds for money, and they are very good. Testamenta, do your will online, but of course you need a notary, so you go physically, but they have combined both things. Several for contracts automation, and you can do a contract with just putting your data, etc. Then we have law firms that have disrupted the market. They were unknown, but they have invested a lot of money, and they have completely changed the marketing strategy. So they have become let's say, big advertising investors as, let's say, a bank. And they are disrupting completely the market and also the way they render services. Then you have some law firms that understand that a lot is happening, and they try to do their own ventures. And I have given you here two examples. The first one is a company, a law firm, excuse me, that specializes in family law, and they have created these tools so that you can do an agreement online with your partner when you want to divorce, and not going to court or not have a divorce, a nasty divorce. The second one is to cancel your debts when you are bankrupt as an individual. And finally, the legal insurance. In Spain, they were not so relevant some years ago, but now they're getting their share of the market because people are looking for cheap services, fast and accessible. What is happening in the world of corporations and NGOs? Marcus has already mentioned the kind of legal tech that there is. Here in blue, I have two categories which are more, let's say, support for the better management, and the rest are rendering of services through legal tech. So compliance, data protection, IP, etc. I don't want to get into this, but there are several solutions, and law firms are looking at them and getting them, sometimes to do their job better just for themselves, sometimes to give better services to the client, so they offer them to the client. I want to talk about the public sector because I think that's something which is very relevant, and sometimes we don't think about it, is what the public sector is doing. And in Spain, at least, the public sector is becoming more active, let's say, and more getting more field in the field of rendering legal services. So they are not only, let's say, like, okay, I do the paperwork and I stamp your paper. No. They're also giving information. They're also giving templates. They're taking part of the, let's say, field that before lawyers used to cope. And that is an incredible competitor because they're using technology for that. we have, as an example, chatbots, apps, etc., which are proposed by the different public administrations and have an impact. What is going to happen now? Well, we have a huge crisis coming here, but we are happy because the European Union is going to give us 140 million euros, and digital transformation is one of the fields where this money is going to be placed. So hopefully, you know, since now it is a priority to survive, and most legal actors understand that technology will help them, this money will get into that. So my final conclusions are that, of course, in Spain, the buyer's market of legal services is evolving fast. The crisis will only accelerate the change. Pressure on prices will increase in the coming months. Here, there is no money really. And automation, digitalization will be inserted in all possible services, no matter the segment of potential clients, being that individuals, corporations, or citizens. So that's the point of view of Spain. Thank you so much. And I give the path to the following speaker, the next speaker.
Thank you, Maria. I will try to share. Okay. Okay, I will share my screen again. So, and next we have a presentation from Russia. Holger.
Yes. Okay. All right. Hello, everyone. Yeah, Jess, you can follow to the next slide. You can. I'm easily defined on LinkedIn and other social networks. Okay. Hi, everyone. Helena, thank you for inviting me. First, let's cover the question: what's wrong with me, with my look? Nothing bad has happened to me. No bar fight, no domestic abuse, just eye surgery. So don't worry about the pirate look. So let's talk about Russia. So I listened to Helena's presentation, and we could easily rename Russia into Eastern Sweden because the situation in Russia is very much similar to the situation in Sweden. So we have a very low level of regulation. So apart from criminal cases where we have to be a member of the bar in order to represent clients, everything else is up for grabs. Until a year ago, you don't have to be even a lawyer, have the law degree to represent anybody in civil court. Now you have to have at least a law degree to represent a party in a civil court. But everything else, consultation, legal tech, startups, and so on, you don't even have to be a lawyer to do that. So it's very similar to the Swedish situation. Russia has a quite high number of legal professionals. Of course, nobody's counting them. The only statistics available is about the so-called advocate, the members of the body, so-called advocates. They are around 70,000, but the rest is about, the common number is 1.3 million legal professionals in Russia. So it's quite a huge number. The market itself, legal services market, is about $2 billion US per year, plus minus probably half a billion, because a lot of money is going not through statistics. So it's quite a number of legal professionals, and I have to say we have a good, quite good infrastructure, especially if you're talking about automation of the judiciary. We have in Russia, we have two separate systems. One is called the civil courts for private persons, and one is called the so-called arbitrage or commercial courts for disputes between legal entities. And especially that system of commercial course is very well equipped in terms of technology. Since 2010, they have a unified system for making available online all documents pertaining to different cases. And from 2014, you can file electronically. And now about 40% of cases are filed electronically via this system, and everything is free of charge, accessible via the internet. So if you know Pacer in the United States, it's like Pacer on steroids. That system is called KAD or CAT. The civil court system has a similar system. It's not quite as sophisticated, but you can also file electronically. and more than 100 million Russians are registered with the e-government platform. It's called Gosuslugi, or state services in Russia. So if you're registered at this platform, you have an e-signature and you can file electronically. Of course, not everybody is using it, but theoretically, more than 100 million Russians could file cases electronically via that system, or the separate judiciary systems. And all those, the low level of regulation and the quite high level of automation breeds a very dynamic legal tech market. Together with PricewaterhouseCoopers, we do now for the third year an annual update of the legal tech, Russian legal tech map. You can find it on the internet. I can send it to you if you want. So there are more than 100 projects, both in B2C, B2B markets, covering almost all categories of legal technology, maybe a part of, except of e-discovery, because e-discovery is not relevant for the Russian market. So that's the good information, good news. The bad news is that in general, the legal profession, or the trust into the judiciary or in the legal system is very low among the population. So people, A, don't know what rights they have, and B, don't trust that they can defend their rights in court because of corruption, because of high prices and so on. If you're looking at the money you have to spend on legal advice, is very low compared to probably any other market. The Federal Bar Association published a study last year that the average annual income of a member of the bar in Russia is 8,000 euros. The annual income, not per month, but per year. So 8,000, that's quite a low price point, I would say. And we also have a very low level of so-called legal knowledge, legal literacy. So people don't know their rights in the first place. So the outcome is that only 1 in 4 Russians ever consulted a lawyer for a legal problem, and that's of course. Well, you can see it from 2 different sides, a huge problem or a huge potential. But both the environment, the technological support, and so on, and the low price point, you have a couple of very interesting startups in Russia, especially in the B2C sector, where the prices are very low. One of those companies, they started with serving the general public with legal advice, so-called hotlines you call in, and of course they have to be highly supported by technology, otherwise they couldn't afford to offer legal advice at such a price point. But in order to get an impression of what they're offering, they're now going into advising to small and medium enterprises, and one company is offering via a bank. For the clients of the bank, for the small and medium enterprise clients of the bank, and a monthly subscription to a legal advice hotline, 24 hours, 7 days a week, for 150 rubles. That's less than you would pay for a coffee at Starbucks per month. So you can't beat that price point. And it's apart from legal representation in court, they cover everything: document generation, legal advice. You can call in with your problem, and most of the problems for small and legal enterprises could be covered by such services. At this price point, it's a very interesting thing to see in the market. And you have also, due to the low level of regulation, you have a lot of other players in the market. Say one company is offering a legal department as a service, so you can just for an amount of money less than you would have to pay for one legal professional in-house, you can hire a whole legal department. They have different price levels, but it's very affordable. And you see even legal departments in Russia going into the legal tech market or going into the legal services market. So the legal department of the second largest mobile provider in Russia started 2 years ago offering packaged legal services. So that's uncommon in any other jurisdiction I know. So it's still a lot to do, and it's like Helena said about the Swedish market. It's huge potential, not yet realized to the full extent, but the potential is there. The market is there, and the technology and the lack of regulation will help to do that. So that's it. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Holger. Then next we have a presentation from France. Please welcome them.
Hello, Elena. Thank you very much for having us, and thank you, Julia, as well for the organization. I'm very glad to be joining today. But a very brief introduction. I'm here representing France as the ambassador for ELTA, and besides I'm working at Wolters Kluwer. What I'm doing here is actually being involved in legal tech for the past 10 years, mostly in France. Myself, as other ambassadors, I'm a former practicing lawyer, and I've always been very passionate about what is this bridge that always existed between technology and law. And as Maria mentioned it at the beginning, we very much encourage you to get involved with your local ambassadors in your jurisdictions, wherever you are. There's so much to do at ELTA, and would be glad to welcome you. It's an amazing community of passionate people. So, but to really focus on what it is to say in France, and you'll see many similarities between different jurisdictions. The first thing I wanted to emphasize is the fact that France really started and really got off the wrong foot with legal technology. We are very much moving backwards in this regard for institutional adoption of legal technology. As in many countries in Europe, and especially of Western Europe, it's a bit an old-fashioned way of dealing with legal practice, and in that sense, it was quite difficult. The additional complexity that we had in France was that it started also with young B2C startups actually addressing the legal market with legal technology, a bit like what Marcus mentioned at the beginning as well. And these people, these companies really created some kind of blockage with this relationship to technology and the way we could deliver legal services. They were actually called legal pirates or legal poachers. And actually this relationship with these local actors really complicated a lot the perception of legal tech locally. Instead, and that's also a main difference between Sweden or the US or other European countries, we have a highly regulated market for legal practice. We have in France around 68,000 independent practicing lawyers, so registered at the local bar. And from these 68,000, you need to take into consideration that 35,000, or more than half of them, are actually located in Paris. So, so that's a rather small community, very centralized in our capital, and therefore a lot to do for these legal professionals. So besides this difficult relationship with the B2C, and actually national bars councils initiated many legal actions to try to end these irregular practices. There were very long disputes starting since 2015 and still ongoing for some of them. So this gives you an idea of how difficult the landscape was. Now, the idea behind was that actually legal services are really specific and cannot be delivered by anyone. I mean, you do not get your doctor's prescription going to the local pharmacy down your apartment. So this was actually how they wanted to protect it, and by not actually allowing anyone else to get into it. So they had to actually clarify these borders between legal professionals and local startups helping anyone to get maybe an some kind of legal service, or at least to get access to some legal information, which is the very least we could do. So it also helped national authorities to make it really easier for everyone to get access to it. And we also saw a real burst with a strong interest from practicing lawyers as well to initiate new digital way of delivering services. And that was also a very important movement from legal professionals. Smaller firms had to find a way to deliver services in another way. Obviously, there's the never-ending debate about the hourly rate and how you charge clients, but it's also related to it. So it's important to emphasize the fact that they were actually trying to do something about it, to package legal services, to make it easier to actually get legal services with your accountant, with other professionals, to somehow to combine a bit more what could be delivered. Now, obviously, with these many disputes that happen between B2C actors and legal professionals, one of the main consequences that we saw was that it practically scrambled the message from legitimate players from the B2C market, and also from B2B actors that are also very important, as they are addressing and actually providing different kinds of services and solutions to legal professionals to make their lives easier. So a really complicated relationship. This all evolved a lot in the past 2 years. I would say from the past 3 years till now, we saw really a huge difference. Sorry, a huge difference in the perception of legal technology, and how now legal professionals, being in independent law firms or practicing in-house, or even notaries or anyone else in the legal sector, they really embrace more widely and more easily legal solutions that could help in their daily lives. Maybe a few figures also to share with you regarding the legal tech development in France. We're running on a yearly basis analysis and statistics to see how the funding and creation, disappearances of legal technologies are happening. And the results we had at the beginning of 2020 for the year 2019 are really interesting in one specific regard. We saw a 111% increase in funds raised between 2018 and 2019 by legal tech startups. So we went through basically 24 million on average in 2019. And we also saw that actually this number raised by 300% since 2016. So there is really a strong interest from funds to actually push legal tech initiatives. What we also saw is that the average funds raised also were multiplied by 4 between 2018 and 2019, with really an average of 2 million euros that are raised in 2019. And also another interesting indicator that we saw in 2019 is that we really recorded the first disappearances of legal technologies. So a few companies that were previously listed, that were already existing, they started to disappear. The legal tech landscape is really trying to concentrate itself. It's really bigger actors that are taking a bit more place in here, also because this comes with a lot of M&A activity, legal techs being acquired, over being dissolved, some technologies being acquired, and services being removed. So a lot of activity in this regard. So this stage of concentration of the market is also very interesting, because obviously as less new players and biggers are taking more place to offer highly integrated solutions, we see also that legal professionals know a bit more precisely what they need and what they are expecting from legal technology. So this evolution of funds raised, of interest in legal tech, is also, and comes along with a lot more maturity regarding legal professionals. And this legal maturity also comes with the new movement that we see from what we call ALSP, the alternative legal service providers, that still struggle to actually get in France. the French model that we have is really tough to allow that kind of companies to really provide legal services in France. So they find different ways actually of providing counsel to companies. But what we also see, and that's more of a global trend, is that Big Four are taking even more place to assist companies in mostly really legal managed services. So that's the more bigger trend that we see. In-house professionals are now much more looking at legal operations, also professionals. So there's some kind of another trend going on here with more insourcing of legal services for companies as well. So an interesting impact. And as for everyone else, and I believe we are all on the same page here. Obviously, COVID-19 accelerated many different things, and among them, it really changed our perception of legal technology. So it becomes less about how do I match my technological needs with legal management of my information in my company or in my law firm, but it's much more now about how much time and money am I saving versus how productive and efficient I am in my company. So it's a more practical approach, a more ROI approach of legal tech acquisition and setup in-house or in law firms than it was before. Practically speaking, legal professionals are less sensitive to all the glittering technology that we saw, all the buzzwords about AI and stuff like this. They are really going back to the basics. They want a really efficient Swiss knife with 2 blades and one specific tool. They really want the basics because we missed the basics in the past couple of years. So it's an interesting trend as well, and as it was also this huge accelerator in maturity, especially for countries that endured heavy lockdowns. It's also interesting to see that now for many law firms, as there's now an expectation from their clients, from the companies they serve, it's really an arms race to be well equipped and to be really equipped fast and to be more efficient. And also part of the surveys that we run, we understand that companies, clients expect from their law firms to be very well equipped and actually ask during their tenders how they plan to actually serve their clients, technologically speaking. So that's also an interesting aspect. And maybe now looking back at your quote, Elena, regarding Susskind in 2008, it's also interesting to see how now professionals are not being replaced, but somehow he was right in a certain sense, because people and legal professionals are now reclaiming their time. And by reclaiming their time, they need to automate more, to really delegate and maybe involve more of a do-it-yourself approach to make sure that they can focus on what really matters, that they need to deal with a lot more information. France is a highly regulated country, and we have even more regulations that go on top of others that complicate the lives of in-house counsels. So they need to do more with less time and less resources. So it's a really complicated moment. But however, I believe that he had really a good vision here of what was changing really for legal professionals 15 years from now. And obviously the last impact that we see are also about knowledge and education. Bringing more maturity for legal professionals also was some kind of a little spark for universities, private schools to involve more of the legal technology aspect in their programs early on. But it's also a really huge push for the public sector. Many of us are now seeing more investment from legal for legal professionals, especially on public platforms. We saw the release earlier this year of our national platform called Legifrance, and this platform provides all legal references. And this website has been live for 12 years and has never been revamped, redesigned for 12 years. So you can imagine how it looked like last year. They invested 2 million euros to actually redesign, to actually change the whole platform, the whole technology, and to bring in more APIs so we can actually eventually get this information directly everywhere. So really practically speaking, that's what I wanted to share with you. There's so much more to say, but I'll hand over to the rest of you. Thank you very much.
Thanks a lot, Craig. And the next speaker is Marisa. And showing how it looks like in Portugal. Marisa, please.
Hi
Welcome.
all, good. Thank you, and thank you, Elena, for the invitation to be with.
Okay.
You today and to talk about Portugal. In your invitation, you also challenged me about Netherlands. I'm in between the Netherlands and Portugal, and but I will focus, of
We have some problem with the
course,
connection.
Yeah, Marisa, I think you're somehow frozen.
And we'll leave a little bit this Portugal.
I believe we have some problem with the connection with Marisa.
Yeah.
Maybe she could come back, and we should just maybe we should come back with her and continue instead so far with Croatia.
I think we got.
Oh, maybe.
Yeah, I think we get connection again.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, it's well, I didn't have any trouble till this moment, and and our connection is bad all week, so the hotspot was not fast enough. So I apologize for that. Hope it doesn't happen anymore. If it does, please jump to the next speaker. I don't want to trouble too much this event. As I was explaining, I'm based in the Netherlands. I'm still a lawyer. My path is a little bit similar to Maria, but I am still a lawyer registered in the Bar Association of Portugal and in the European Bar Association. So I feel internally the struggles that maybe some don't, because while I am an early adopter, I became a member of ELTA in the beginning of this association with a lot of enthusiasm, and I tried to work very hard, but there's a lawyer in me, and this struggle is going. As also Grégoire had the opportunity to talk about France, I remember being here in the Peace Palace in an event organized by the Institute of Legal Innovation of The Hague, with one of the early legal tech that in France got a lot of heat by the Bar Association, with even taking them to court. And they told us in the first person how they were struggling, and there were two engineers, and they were overwhelmed with this, what they seen and perceived as an attack by the Bar Association. And we could understand. So the ones who've been a little bit in this world for seeing the developments, understand what are the real struggles in the field, because we talk about, of course, the big four, but also we have the world of the startups, and it's completely different, of course. Also the heat and the capacity of having it. Portugal is a really regulated market as well. And we are very traditional. We have a traditional legal university mindset still, and the Bar Association has quite an important role in what it is the legal ecosystem in Portugal. So we are actually, if Elena, I don't know if you are able to share the slides that are apparently in the presentation. If you can, one of the things I had in my first slide presentation was actually a little text regarding the OECD talking about the fact that yes, exactly. There's a little explanation why there's a lack of alternative legal service providing. Well, in Portugal, the case is there really actually there is no scope for using digital applications, and there's in a way there's no room for legal services unless you are a lawyer. And in Portugal, we have what we call in Portuguese, Lei dos Atos Próprios dos Advogados. So we did regulate what constitutes a legal service in the sense of what it is, a legal service provided only and solely by a lawyer, and that will be illegal to provide a service if you are not. Even if you are a lawyer, but you are not with your registration, active registration, because you can suspend it in the Bar Association, you will not be able to provide these services. And the definition is quite extensive, and so it becomes very, very difficult to really provide any service whatsoever if you are not a lawyer. So as you can imagine, as happened in France since 2015, we in a way are starting a little bit the fight. So when I became ambassador for Portugal, my role was also to take everything that I was accessing to in the Netherlands and all the knowledge I was acquiring, and then with the ELTA colleagues, and trying to take it to Portugal, but to obtain as more information as I could to bridge and to see how we could help also develop. But in Portugal, this is not still a mindset. We are maybe as France was in 2015. So it's for us maybe a little bit the beginning. So much to do. We had now in last June, the first Congress, International Congress for the Challenges of Legal Tech in the north of Portugal, with a lot of stakeholders, but also the participation of Brazilian guests and even other guests from Latin America. So that's also how I explain later on that for us, the Brazil landscape, it's a connection, and I will explain later. But I was talking about the mindset and the stage that Portugal is at the moment. And if we can maybe go to the next slide, this is in Portuguese, but I would like to just quickly explain. There's a potential alteration in the law proposed now in this by one of the Portuguese parties, and we believe that this alteration in the law, if this acts of the lawyers that I mentioned to you, atos próprios dos advogados, will start this contentions moment between the Bar Association and this need, this alteration. And in the next slide, you will see what I thought it was an interesting moment with our Ronaldo here in this image. But you see here in this headline, advogados em guerra, it means lawyers in war with the agencies, the funeral agencies and real estate agencies. So the word, the choice of words, I think it's quite showing everybody that it's a war. It's not a dialogue. It's not how can we design a better ecosystem for everybody. How can we adopt technology and this new landscape of legal services? How could we even cooperate with each other? The word is war. And this also happened, I think it was Marcos talking about the insurance companies. It's not in this image, but there's also already even an action taken by the Portuguese Bar Association that took to court already one insurance company. So we don't know what's going to happen in that suit, but let's see. We will be quite curious to follow up this war. That I also hope that in the future, even the chapter in Portugal can help to maybe promote a more constructive dialogue Also, I want to finalize in the next slide, and not going to go too much over time. I think it's very, very important to mention that the public sector and the government is a key in Portugal, contrary maybe to other countries. It's been actually one of the motors for progress in this area. In ELTACon in Madrid in last December, an amazing event that Maria organized, and we had the Secretary of State of the Portuguese Minister of Justice that came exactly to the event, and because she's quite involved in all of this. And we see here in this picture Pedro Tavares, one of the real legal innovators in Portugal. He creates with his team, of course, the Hub of Justice in the Ministry of Justice, that was actually an accelerator, internal accelerator for creating solutions and tech solutions for the ministry itself. So what I feel, I feel a lot of hope having this kind of professionals in the field, because they are working very hard to allow for more progress in this sector. So, like I say, I want to end it with this note of hope. We are still in the beginning, but we have a lot to do, and we have the government. And like I say, in the end, the Brazilian bridge, I don't know if you all know, but the bar associations of Brazil and Portugal have a protocol. So we have a lot of colleagues coming to Portugal, and we have a lot of law techs also bridging Portugal and Brazil, because we share a common language, Portuguese, and that is also an asset for any company, as you know. So that is all for me, and I pass to the next ambassador. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks a lot, Marisa. Thanks. We continue then with Croatia, and Marco, please.
Hi, everyone. Hi, how are you doing? First of all, I'd like to apologize a bit. I have a kind of a cold, non-COVID cold, thankfully. But if I start sneezing and doing stuff like that, please excuse me. I'm going to try to take it down to a minimum. Well, anyway, I'm glad that Marisa was talking before me, because I'm seeing that we mostly have a similar problem. So unlike, for example, Russia, the Croatian market is also heavily regulated, over-regulated, and the gist of the story is going to be about that. I'm a managing partner of a law firm in Croatia. It's called Porobin Špoljareć LLC, and we are basically one of the firms, maybe rare law firms, that actually try to invest and promote legal tech in Croatia. Why is it important? Because we decided to do it not just for ourselves, but to try to create a legal tech environment and legal tech friendly environment in Croatia for other law firms and for other providers. Can I just have next slide, Helena, please? Okay, so as we can see, basically the problem in Croatia is legal restrictions, and the weirdest part is not that those legal restrictions are down so much by the government, but as much as by our own bar. So, for example, if the government has some general rules and regulations about conducting, providing legal services. One of them is a restriction which says that the only person that can provide legal service for money has to be a registered lawyer. So the problem is we cannot have alternative legal services provider. We cannot have anyone coming from outside offering cross-border legal services. They have to be registered at the Croatian bar. Croatian bar is mishandling it, and is also basically sticking to that rule, trying to maintain some kind of a status quo, which is mostly counterproductive. So thankfully, not thankfully, but in this situation with the COVID and the epidemics, it has shown how much digitalization of the whole society can help us in situations which are not under our control. For example, when we had a lockdown in March and April, suddenly the whole government became turned to become online friendly. It was like it took them a couple of weeks to do what we waited for them to do for 5 or 10 years. Courts suddenly finished with their project of e-filing, and now we have completely digitized filing system in all courts in Croatia. It was in development since 2013, and it was suddenly developed from March to May 2020. And the situation is basically on the private sector is that there is a problem with providing alternative legal services, as I mentioned. We have a few lawyers and startups who are pushing for development, but that's still in the area of pushing it. So it's a couple of my colleagues and in our law firm are trying to push out some products which are not unfortunately developed in Croatian market. They're developed outside in the US, in the Netherlands, in Czechia and other countries. So what we can do is we can only manage to develop and to localize the product. For example, as you can see, homegrown viable products are still not existing in Croatia, mostly, first of all, because of the language barrier. We are a very small market, and a lot of providers or potential providers are not that interested in developing a tech unless they already have a viable financial solution. If they don't have a custom product, or if it's not a product made by order, they tend to take it slowly and check what's going to happen. The legal tech that's used in Croatia is used mostly brought in by Big Four and Big Law, which use it internally. So basically, they just bring it in from their other subsidiaries. What we're trying to do, as I mentioned, is basically to build an ecosystem of third-party providers, because that's the only way that we can push legal tech in Croatia. We have to push it through the law firm. We cannot push it as some other firm or as an alternative provider. So we have built a brand name which is now slowly trying to introduce legal tech and to show what legal tech can do to customers and what it can help clients and how it can help other law firms. For example, in the area of AI contract review, document automation, smart contracts, etc. We have had some consultations with the local potential vendors who might be able to provide us with some kind of tech in near future. It's currently one of the biggest issues that's being developed in Croatia is to create a viable NLP system, natural language processing system, that works in Croatian and that is built on a level that can satisfy reading legal documents. The thing is that basically, since it's expensive and the return on investment in Croatia and in Croatian language is kind of problematic. What we're now trying to do is pull up various corporations, law firms, and other interested investors to fund such a development and to create a viable NLP system that's going to be used countrywide. And once it's done, then maybe the AI products, localized AI products, can start to live up. We had one of the big issues that we had regarding NLP. We had one law firm that created a chatbot for the clients. It was based on providing family law advice, for example, for basic advice related to marriage, divorce, division of assets, and stuff like that. I think it could answer for around 20 to 30 questions. They were the topic on the next our bar's board meeting, and the topic was addressed in a very unfriendly way. Basically in a manner that said, this is going to destroy our dignity as a profession, etc., etc. Unfortunately, so this is one kind of an uphill battle that we are trying to battle here. But not to sound pessimistic, I think that it's an uphill battle that we are slowly winning. It's not going to be a revolution, it's going to be an evolution. But I do believe that it's going to create a critical mass of providers and firms and clients. They're going to ask for those services, and if it's the bar or if the government tries to ban it, I think that they're going to find heavy resistance. Also, we had an election in July, And the new minister is of justice is much younger than all the previous ministers. And from our initial contacts with him, he is much more tech friendly than the previous persons who held the position. So we're also hoping in the next few months that we can schedule some kind of a meeting in the ministry to talk to them, to try to find the way to create a proper legal framework for alternative service providers and generally for use of legal tech, so it doesn't get penalized by the bar or by the Croatian courts. I hope that in next year, when we're going to hold something similar to this webinar, which I hope is going to be held live in some beautiful location without any masks or anything similar, I will be able to talk about an actual product or a vendor that's coming from Croatia and that's built a very good legal tech product. Until then, I can only say thank you very much for listening, and thank you. Bye.
Yeah, thanks a lot, Marco. Thanks. So the next then is Anna Maria from Romania to give a presentation about the situation in Romania, please.
Yes. Hello, everyone. Yeah, it's okay, great. So I am Anna Maria. At the base, as a profession, I am a lawyer. However, I have 3 projects that I'm now concentrating on. One is my legal tech startup, Avoteca, and my legal podcast that has already 1 year. And of course, being ambassador in Romania for ELTA, occasion for which I want to tell you, if you're Romanian and watching this, please come to me, because finally we have representation and we can do good things together. We're already a good number of people from Romania, and I'm very, very happy that we can now do more nice things. As you can see also from my presentation, I'm not really conventional lawyer, so I'm really a big supporter of the work from everywhere, as I am a digital nomad myself, which means that at least a quarter of my time I'm working from other places than a home base. I love coffee like all lawyers probably, and I do have a dog like that one that is super surprised every time when he sees me, even if it's 3 times a day. Anyway, let's talk a bit about legal tech sector in Romania. And I will jump directly to the point and say that unfortunately in Romania, we don't really have alternative legal service providers. And I will explain a bit why. It's not like a big surprise, a bit like how my colleagues said previously, we are a very, very regulated country. I think we are, as Marisa was saying about Portugal, so I would say a 2015 version of France. In Romania, only certified lawyers can provide legal services, and we do as well have a very certain definition of what legal services mean. We have other legal professions, but only the regulated one are the one recognized. So everything that is outside this, it's illegal practice of lawyering. What happens is that it was even put in the penal code. So basically, if you provide legal services, you can be punished even with imprisonment. It didn't happen until now, but it can be. Even Big Four have organizations inside that have to somehow comply with this, and when they provide legal services, they have to go around this regulation. This is why in the beginning, we had legal tech companies that were providing services more to improve the efficiency of lawyers. As you see, like contract management or court cases and practice management. For consumer side, we had only legal blogs or legal information sites. These services were indirectly helping clients, and we can say that of course it was not for nothing. It provided faster service, so especially for urgent cases, having a software that helps the lawyer create in a faster way a contract or to tell you what your case is, what happens in your case, helped you solve your solution faster. However, we could see in time that this didn't really help, let's say, on the consumer side, the costs. Because what happened is that lawyers were actually having more clients, the profits went bigger, but the cost for the end user remained the same. In Romania, the discussion with the costs is a bit, let's say, concluded in the way that we have both project-based costs, which usually are used by individual small law companies, and hourly rates, which are more used by the big providers. In recent, let's say 1, 2, let's say 3 years, more providers on the consumer side started to appear, either marketplaces, either do-it-yourself compliance websites, even cloud communication softwares. Also, we could see a rise in events such as Global Legal Hackathon, where I actually participated in 2019 with my startup, and after I was a mentor, which encourages legal tech startups to come and create new products. However, again, it's hard because of the legislation. So in order to promote as a lawyer, you have specific rules. In order to provide legal services, you have specific rules. In order to go to be helped by someone in finding clients, you have specific rules or actually interdictions. So you can't really do what you want almost 80% of the time. So all these startups and legal providers have to see how they build their companies in order to comply with all this regulation. And of course, when you have so much rules, most of the times, the ones that create these companies are lawyers. Because to be honest, it's lawyers that know everything that needs to be respected. It's very hard for someone outside of the legal field to know all this regulation. We saw that after the COVID crisis, that even the Bar Association presented themselves a bit more open. And they said, for example, for the marketplaces, that they are allowed as long as they comply with the guide of online intermediary platforms made by the Council of Bar and Law Societies of Europe. So before COVID, actually, it was a big discussion if marketplaces are or are not legally functioning in Romania. Well, after COVID, everyone saw that technology is a must. There were a lot of, almost everyone had to move online. Everyone had to use video conferencing in order to discuss with their clients. So this is a short overview on what's going on in Romania when it comes to legal tech. I think there's some things that need to be presented. I will say them pretty fast, not to take too much time. One, we have to see exactly these legal tech startups, what is their purpose, because we want to make the life better for them and not worse. So if we raise efficiency of lawyers, we have to be careful for lawyers not to work too much and to still keep the balance of work-life, because it's good to feel efficient, but it's not good to work overtime. And we saw, unfortunately, there are a lot of lawyers that quit their job because there's too much pressure. And through this type of legal startups, we want to actually give access to everyone to a lawyer and not to block them. So I think that I have trust that we are going to change, and we see the wind of change coming. The National Union of Romanian Bar Association seems more and more open to change. Fortunately, we don't feel at war with them, but sometimes more with some of our legal professionals. But I really consider that everyone should have something to say in that. And if you want to communicate or to talk with me more about this, you can contact me at the contact information that you see in the next slide, and we can debate more or even see if there is anything that we can do in Romania or in Europe to change and improve the legal tech sector. Thank you very much.
Thanks a lot. Thanks a lot, Anna Maria. It's a lot of regulated markets. So thank you everyone for participating and presenting. Now, how does it look like with any questions, or do we have any questions so far?
No, in the chat there are no questions at the moment. So
okay, so no question. Good. Okay, so then we could just summarize this and see. That's interesting to see how different it is within different countries, and it's interesting to note that on the regulation part, Sweden is more similar to Russia than other countries. Hopefully, though, we don't have the corruption in Sweden, but we have the options for delivering legal services in the same way as in Russia. I think the interesting parts here has also been about the public sector. We should further discuss some other time about what's happening within the public sector in all these countries, because they have a lot of initiatives and they can really drive innovation and change the way we handle legal issues. And I believe also that the Big Four, the establishment of the Big Four in all these countries can really change the legal landscape. And it's going to be interesting to see what's going to happen in the upcoming years. And I also believe it's interesting to talk further about the education of our lawyers. What do they learn when learning to become a lawyer? And how much should they learn about the legal tech landscape and the change that will come in the future? We have tech academies in Sweden and in Nordic, and I guess we have in many other countries too, but it's just a tiny part of the law students that it's available for. So that would be interesting to discuss further. Do anyone have anything further to add now? I'm happy to see we are also following the time schedule here for this presentation, because it's a long webinar for everyone to be listening at 1.5 hours. Do anyone want to add something here? Anyone from the speakers here want to add something? I don't see anyone saying. I think if not so, I think this gave us all a nice, helpful overview of what's really happening. And from 2008 until now, it's a lot have happened, but I believe we see a lot more coming in the upcoming years. And we look forward to follow up on that later on. And if you have any ideas of what to discuss further, please do not hesitate to contact us and us on this panel. And thank you to everyone for participating. And thank you everyone for listening to this, and hope to talk to you all later on, and hope to see you all at another time. Thanks.
Thank you, Helena.
Thank you.
Bye. Have a nice rest of the day.